Biden's message last night from the Oval Office, telling both sides to turn down the temperature. But if I could ask you, referencing some of your public statements this year, you said, this November, this election will determine whether or not we're able to keep the republic. You said, don't estimate the rage of women in this country. They will march, they will take to the streets. There will be a rebellion against oppression. You said you ought to be concerned that your freedom, you ought to be concerned about your freedom because it could be a vestige of the past. Do you see yourself playing a role here in also adjusting your own language and maybe taking down the temperature yourself?
I would say many of those comments were directed at policies. None of them said to take up arms and harm another human being. None of them said go after a candidate. None of them said go after a president or former president. So there is a vast difference between espousing my deeply held views about what I see could happen for the future of our country and the concern that I still hold today about where we're heading as a nation, and saying that, take to the streets and march. That's what you should be doing. That's where you express your political views. You talk about that, but you don't do something like call for an insurrection, and you don't call for an attack on a place like the United States Capitol. There is a line that you never, ever cross, and I'll continue to call out those who cross that line.
And just to follow up, the governor of Virginia announced that he's going to put the flags at half-staff for that volunteer firefighter that was killed, Corey. Would you consider putting the flags at half-staff in New York for this volunteer firefighter?
That's absolutely something I would consider. Let me look at our state policy on whether that would be an appropriate use of our state policy, but it's certainly something I'll look at today.
Last one.